We're going to start with Argo first, and Scott, why don't you tell us what it's about?
All right, Argo is based on true events that took place during the Iranian hostage crisis that took place between 1979 and 1981. For those that aren't familiar, during that time, 52 Americans were held hostage at the American embassy in Iran. 6 of those hostages, however, were able to flee the building and take refuge in the Canadian ambassador's home. Ben Affleck not only directs this film, but also stars as Tony Mendez, the CIA exfiltration expert who is tasked with the rescue of these 6 Americans. He devises what Bryan Cranston's Jack O'Donnell calls the best bad idea we have by creating a phony Canadian film project that is to be filmed in Iran. The idea is that Mendez will fly to Iran alone and return to Canada with the 6 hostages in tow as his film crew for the science fiction film called Argo, which doesn't actually exist. The scheme is elaborate as fake storyboards, posters, and even a script are all manufactured with precise detail in order to leave no loose ends in the story as Mendez and his CIA attempt to follow through with their plan. So, Aaron, you and I are the only ones that saw this, correct? Mm-hmm. What did you think of this story? Obviously it's based on a true story, so.
I think Affleck and his screenwriters did really well. I think they made a political film feel very non-political, even though this is based on a true story. It never really felt any different than any other kind of thriller. Mm-hmm. The story is very straightforward. The movie portion that I thought, if you watch the trailer, and I think, Justin, this was really a sticking point with you, I think, that the movie portion where they're getting together with directors and producers trying to put together a fake movie seemed very much like it was going to be satire, and it's not. It's really played very straight. I think the trailer kind of misleads you in that way, where you think you're getting a little bit of Get Shorty or something, and it's really not. It's played very straight, very much, this is serious business, we're doing it for this reason. They are funny characters, or amusing characters, but the situation isn't funny. It's just they're funny people, or clever people, witty people, whatever. So I really liked the story. I thought the way that they handled it and didn't make it political, so that anybody could go see the movie and not care what happened with that whole crisis and still get into the story. That's very impressive to me. That's really hard to do with this kind of movie.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I think it could have made a great story even if it weren't based on a real story. We talk about like when you immediately see that on the screen that this is based on true events or whatever, we're instantly like, oh, this is really cool. But even if that wouldn't have been there, I would have enjoyed this immensely. The story was really great.
It's a political movie that's not made for political people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was just the right amount of humor, like you said. It wasn't over the top. Like the trailer was a little misleading because it had such a tonal shift all the way through the trailer between, is this supposed to be a comedy? Is this supposed to be a serious movie? Is this supposed to be an action movie? You don't really know. And when you see the movie and see that it's just the perfect amount of each, I think. And I thought that was really well done. What about the acting? Did you like...
I thought Ben Affleck's no longer a joke in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. He could probably do Geely too if he directed it, and I think it might be actually decent.
Or Reindeer Games, the sequel?
Oh, I hope so. I really want that to happen. Charlize Theron was just gorgeous. I admire him for putting himself front and center in the film. Normally when somebody is directing a movie and they put themselves in front of the camera, one of the two falters. Clint Eastwood's one of the few guys I think that really gets how to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think Affleck is another guy. He's impressing the hell out of me. He's become an actor I didn't think he would ever be. From anything I've seen in the past, he just never impressed me. Mm-hmm. He's never impressed me as a dramatic actor. He's always been, okay, stick him in a generic action flick and he can probably carry it. Put him in some witty comedy and he can probably handle that, playing off somebody. But he's just never been a strong dramatic actor, and I think he's really took that to heart and made himself better.
See, I feel a little bit different. I think I've liked him in the past a little bit better than you. I didn't look at him as like a AAA actor until now. Well, actually, maybe with The Town, he started to really making me look at him. Mm-hmm. I liked him a little bit better, but he's really just delivered this. His Mendez, he pulled it off. He's a guy who risked his life to fly into Iran to save these people, and he had his own stuff going on too. I mean, you really felt what he had going on and felt his desire and need to get in there and rescue these people. He was awesome. How'd you like Bryan Cranston?
I thought he was okay. Everybody raves about him on Breaking Bad, and I haven't seen Breaking Bad. He's won like 47 Emmys, even though it's only been on 4 or 5 years. But the guy obviously can act. But anything I've seen him in that's been a movie where he's taken a supporting role never impressed me. Mm-hmm. He's just been okay at best. I thought he was better than okay in this, and he finally showed me a little something that I haven't seen out of him, but he still didn't impress out. I mean, I thought he was average. I I haven't seen what everybody else keeps seeing. I'm sure he's great on the show, but for whatever reason, the roles he's taken are just good enough.
He's actually not even the best actor on Breaking Bad. He's awesome, don't get me wrong, but I think it's more. I think he gets a lot of the credit for his acting with what's going on in the story and what happens.
I get that.
But he actually did have a little bit of Walter White in him in this character in Argo, which to me was completely welcome. But nothing that blow your socks off. Awesome. So
Alan Arkin and John Goodman. Those are the two that I was really impressed with. I think they give two of the best performances of their careers. Alan Arkin, I like in anything. The guy is just funny. And the hostages do a really good job. I don't know all of their names, but they did a pretty good job of coming across as a bunch of self-serving scaredy cats, as far as I'm concerned. And then, they all pulled together and, they tried to learn their part to possibly get out of Iran. And they did a really good job. And I really loved seeing Victor Garber. Big fan of Alias. I know that Ben Affleck's wife is actually huge friends with Victor Garber, which is why he's in the movie. But he plays a Canadian ambassador. Just love him. He's one of those guys I wish was in more movies because he's a really good actor and he just does not get the parts. But what do you think about the production of it, the directing? And
I felt this is the first movie I've seen in a long time where I really felt like I was looking through a window and seeing into a different time period. This, obviously took place in the late 70s, early 80s. The costumes felt like what you see in the pictures and old videos, that kind of thing. When they show at the very end, you kind of see the actual passports of some of the hostages, and they show what they look like. They really pulled that off and made them look. They got actors that looked very similar and got the costumes and stuff. That was very, very impressive to me.
Yeah, it was very clever. At the end, they actually show the real people next to the actors. That was pretty impressive.
So I think a lot of the direction was really good too, as far as the cuts. We talked a little bit last week about Taken 2, which you can't hear on our YouTube channel. But we talked about how some of those there was a lot of quick cuts in that hid some of the action. And while this isn't an action movie, the cuts in this made everything seem so tense. It was some of the most tense moments I've seen, and we've talked about it with other horror movies, and as far as building tension, and that's what this movie did. I felt more squirmy in my seat and tapping my toe, that kind of thing. From when there was no action, there was no boo scares. It was the drama and the acting was there, and a lot of that had to do with the direction. It just really made it one of the most tense movies I've seen in a really long time.
I think Affleck's finally proved he's a real deal. The guy's a real deal. When he directs it very. He doesn't direct like a showy award piece. You know what I mean? He's directing a tense thriller with a smart script, strong performances. He's keeping. I don't know what the budget on this is, but he directs it like it's a small movie. It doesn't seem like a small movie. It seems like a very big budget movie, but he directs it in a way that's very tight. He doesn't have a lot of excessive stuff in it. He doesn't have a lot of plot that isn't necessary. A lot of story that isn't necessary to the plot. I mean, it seems like he makes sure that the movie keeps going in a crisp clip, and it's just the way he directed this, and this is the kind of director you want for this kind of movie. He made it a real tense, taut thriller. I liked it a lot.
So what's your final verdict?
Oh, by the way, I really want somebody to give him a franchise now. I don't care what the franchise is, but I'd like to see him take on something, a really big budget, some kind of maybe franchise property, and see what he would do with that kind of
movie
property.
Or TV or
no movie. No, I want to see
Justice League, bitch.
No, whatever it is, something along those lines. I just want to see him tackle a huge property because I think I'm convinced now he can do it. I'm convinced. My verdict: clever, witty, taut, tense, on the edge of my seat most of the time. It's one of the stronger films of the year. I'd actually rate it a little bit higher, but I'm not sure how it rates on replayability. I think I'd probably watch it one more time, and it's a great little thriller. 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay. I enjoyed this movie much more than I thought I ever would. We talk about this pretty much every show. I'm the biggest hater of politics and political movies, and
Jesus, apparently.
I loved nearly every minute of this movie. I was instantly grabbed by the time period. It was around the time I was born, which got me a little bit interested because that was going on. Perfect amount of humor, never overbearing, just enough to keep the tone from being completely somber throughout the whole thing. I've spent the last couple of days trying to find something that I didn't like about it. I twinged a little bit about the rewatchability because walking out of the theater, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever watch this again, but just sitting talking about it, I want to go see it again. And I cannot think of anything that I did not like about this movie. Might be a shocker for you, but I give this a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect movie for me. I loved it.
Hey, it's your movie. You give it whatever you want. Crazy man.